Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. My name is Zarlin, and I'd like to talk a little bit about fighting games. Now, I've dabbled casually in a couple fighting games. I've played some Skullgirls, I've played some Marvel vs. Capcom, I've played Persona 4 Arena, and all that good stuff. And I've always been what's known as a button masher. And as a button masher, I didn't really focus on what my buttons did, as long as hitting them made a thing happen so I could hurt my opponent. And all the friends I've played with have been button mashers as well. So it's always been a chaotic storm of just limbs colliding with each other and never defending and all that good stuff. Occasionally a Hadouken would go off or some sort of special move because by some miracle our mashing performed a super combo. But other than that, we've always been button mashers, me and most of my friends that I played with. And so a lot of discussion goes into why don't they just map the special moves to just one button press instead of having to do special inputs. Like, why can't I just throw a Hadouken by pressing one button? And I was always under that impression that, professionals can do it on command anyway, so why not just change it so I can press one button and do that? So I can be closer to a level playing field with them. And then I picked up Ultra Street Fighter 4 for the PC on Steam. And I started playing it a little bit. And I know how to throw Hadoukens. It's, downright fierce. But I learned that I didn't know how to Hadouken the way I thought I should Hadouken. I was trying to do the move, and only about 50% of the time would it actually come out. And that got me on the whole, why isn't it just a button press so I don't have to flail around when I mess up the input? And that's just, the first couple minutes into playing. And then I go and I'm practicing the character Oni because I thought he looked cool and all that good stuff. And I like Shoto characters, so, throwing fireballs and all that good stuff. And then I looked at the command list to look up what the super was and the ultra. And I eventually got it so I could do the super, 100% of the time, because it's not that hard. But the ultra, whatever you want to call it, was just 2 quarter circles and then 3 hits of the punch button. And I can barely do a Hadouken 50% of the time. And then I realized that I can do my Ultra about 1% of the time against the training dummy bot in training mode. And then I can do the Ultra 0% of the time when I'm facing against real people. And then I go back to, why can't I do this? Why isn't this just mapped to simpler button presses? I mean, I play League of Legends, and to do my ultimate attack, all I have to do is hit R. Then I played for a little bit more, and I switched over to Akuma, and I learned some other things. One reason I switched over to Akuma is because the ultra, whatever you want to call it, is quite similar to the super in both input and application. So I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. And then I realized that just doing the button presses and knowing the button presses doesn't automatically mean that you're going to hit with this ability. You have to know when to use it properly and when to use it at all, because if they're just standing still on the other side of the screen, neither your ultra or your super are going to hit them if they know what they're doing, because they'll just jump over it as Akuma. So you got to know how to set them up. And I kind of experienced the satisfaction of pulling off the button combination at the correct time, so I automatically got the ult to go off or the super to go off, and then you just see their health bars just go straight down, and it's super satisfying when you get that off and you KO them with it. Oh my gosh. And then I started to feel like it wouldn't be as satisfying if I just did a much simpler combination to do that attack. I mean, I still have to know when to do it. I feel like it would be more satisfying by doing the long string of commands to get it to go off exactly when you want it to, instead of having to worry about nothing and just hitting like maybe 2 buttons for an ultra or super. And also, the games that do let you go into simple play mode or whatever, I know Marvel vs. Capcom 3 has a mode where you can just hit a button and throw a Hadouken or whatever special move, and I don't feel like that works out as well as it should, simply because I have recently learned the importance of your normals, your not special moves, your light, medium, and heavy punches and kicks. Those are actually quite important, who knew? But I'm playing more seriously than I ever really have, but I'm nowhere near good. I guess what I'm saying is I'm kind of torn on whether it should be a button press or not just to do a Hadouken. The ultras and the supers are kind of a different story because it takes kind of mastery of your craft, I guess. Not really. It just takes more memorization, I guess. Memorization and muscle memory and all that good stuff. So, I don't really know exactly what I'm saying with this, but I know for a fact that I'm kind of torn on the idea, mostly because even though I did at one point think, oh, there's enough buttons on the controller nowadays that you can have a punch, kick, in your special moves, but one punch and one kick isn't enough. The light, heavy, and medium attacks for both punches and kicks are very important to know how and when to use them, and I've realized this. So basically, I've come to the fact that I'm torn on how to do it, is basically the problem. Knowing the moves isn't as important as knowing when to use your moves. So the button presses aren't really that important. Doing the inputs aren't that important. It's knowing when to use the inputs to do the move so you can do the move when you need to. And I mean, having a simple button press could fix that, but yeah. Technically, if you wanted to play on a keyboard, you could probably macro it, but that's way too much work for me. Honestly, all in all, I'm still pretty torn on the idea, but I don't think there's a proper way to do one button press for a special move right now. Unless we get a lot more buttons on our controllers, which will just change everything up. And then, who knows? But if you have an opinion on this matter, leave it in the comments below. Or you can send it to my Twitter. It's right there on the screen. And if you have an idea for another Let's Discuss video on my channel, you could leave it in the comments or send it to my Twitter. Same places. If you liked this video, there's a little thumbs up button. If you thought this video was one of your favorites of all the videos of YouTube, there's a favorite button somewhere down there. Kind of convoluted to get to nowadays, but it's still there. Other than that, I have been Zarlin Gaming, and let's start a discussion.